excited for you for doing mushrooms now.
Yeah. Well, actually, I didn't go into the interview. I just had on my yellow note card, which I haven't used at all. Should I do drugs?
You should.
And now I feel like I've been talked into doing shrooms. Welcome to Deviate with Rolf Potts, where I talk with experts, public figures, and interesting people about fascinating topics that meander off topic. I'm Rolf Potts, travel writer, author, teacher, and now podcaster. Today I rent a giant white pickup truck and drive comedian Ari Shaffir around Los Angeles looking for a place to get a burrito. This is literally the operating principle of this episode. Now, you might know Ari Shaffir from his work on Comedy Central or his stand-up specials on Netflix. I know him from his Skeptic Tank podcast, where I appeared as a guest earlier this year, talking with him for more than 3 hours about long-term world travel. That conversation was, in fact, one of my inspirations to start a podcast of my own. Now, when I interviewed Ari in Los Angeles, we weren't nearly so focused on one topic, and while I don't want to give away too much about our conversation, I will say it crescendos with Ari making an extended and rather eloquent case for why I should do magic mushrooms. So, I invite you to join in on the ride as Ari and I meander lost through Pasadena for the better part of an afternoon. Which way do we go? I'm with comedian and world traveler Ari Shaffir, and I'm his Uber driver for a day.
Where do you want to head to?
Why don't you? I don't care. I mean, you've lived here before, right?
Yeah, you want to get like a good burrito or something?
We could, or we could just like drive around and see Ari Shaffir's L.A.
Okay, we could do that. I mostly lived in West Hollywood while I was here.
Yeah, no, I was on the other side of the mountain. I'm going to turn right if that's cool with you.
Okay.
I was on the other side of the mountain. It's just a different feel over here. We're in Burbank.
The valley used to be the lamest part of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And it's gotten better. There's more like, I call them ciabatta places when you get gentrification.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's all like this. It was built in the time of the 70s where functional was like way more important.
Right.
So you get these square brown buildings. So you can't even tell where you are by looking at it.
So this is the valley.
Yeah.
Which valley?
San Fernando?
Is it San Fernando?
San Gabriel? I don't really know. They just call it the valley.
Like my, well, there's the Tom Petty lyric, right? There's Free Fallin'. That's one of my perceptions of the valley. The other one is Paul Thomas Anderson, who set his early films in the valley and sort of spoke of growing up in the valley as if he'd grown up in Alaska, like somehow he felt culturally separate from the rest of Los Angeles, which felt absurd to me as a Kansan, but...
Yeah, it's just nobody from here came over the hill to Hollywood and to LA. They just like, yeah, I'm so close, but they just never did.
Sort of a separate...
Yeah. It's kind of like when you live in Bushwick and people are like, well, I'm just 2 stops away from being in Manhattan, and then you're like, then why are you never in Manhattan?
Right. You got the F train? Is that on that go to Bushwick?
Maybe the L train takes you there.
Okay. Oh, the L. That's it.
Yeah, but they're tearing it up in January for like a year and a half.
Huh.
It's going to create new like societies. People are going to have no contact with Manhattan and with Brooklyn. So like, you're going to see like separate art communities pop up.
Yeah, somebody needs to do a PhD thesis on this.
On what happened during the L train debacle.
Right. The flow, the urban planning flow. Is the artisanal tapenade going to taste different on one side or the other? How does this affect white people?
Yeah.
By the way, yeah. I'm just going to drive straight until
That's what I used to do. Just fuck around, man. Just drive.
Yeah,
If you're starting to get to like Torrance or something, I'll be like, hey, stop. But
right. No, see, actually, like Eddie from Torrance, that's from a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. That's Boogie Nights. So I have this geographical matrix that comes from popular culture. And it feels really suburban. I came over the little pass from
Lower Canyon?
From the Hollywood side. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forget which one. It's parallel to 101. And then suddenly it's just a different feel. It's suburban-y here. But then there's these little sort of throwback arty signs.
Like that? Like Family Donuts?
Kind of like, yeah. But no, Family Donut would do it. What street are we on?
Victory.
Okay, yeah, Victory. Yeah, no, we can drive around, go to I haven't seen the ocean yet.
How you been? Oh, this might not be a bad day to go to the ocean. I wonder how we get there right now.
Oh, yeah, actually it's God knows when I'm going to eventually broadcast this, but it's day 1 of the World Series.
Yeah. You're a baseball fan, right?
I'm a baseball fan, but it feels like you and I are both baseball fans in very specific ways. So like, was part of the reason why you're in LA this week because maybe the Yankees were going to be in the series?
Look, it was like a lot of things. I was like, I didn't want to come before I went to Phoenix, but it's only like half an extra trip instead of 2 extra trips.
Right.
So I got to go to Phoenix, so it's like I'll stop here a couple days before, but then it's like, all right, you want to do this podcast? We didn't really have any other time. A couple girls I want to hook up with, and then yeah, the World Series. The Yankees are like they were up 3-2.
Yeah.
At the time, and I was like, there's a chance I could see them in the World Series. I won't have a chance to see them if, in New York, I'll be gone. So yeah, I'm an adult now. I can afford World Series tickets, and I was like,
Crazy.
this will be the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all came together. It was like, yeah, fuck it, Rolf, I'll meet you.
Fair enough. And so now I'm driving you around.
You're reaping the benefits of that Game 4 comeback.
Right. Yeah.
Who do you like? The Royals?
I'm a Royals fan, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I was here last time. I think when you contacted me for your podcast, I was in LA watching baseball and seeing friends,
Yeah.
But they didn't even make the postseason. And
No, they had a chance for a while, a couple years ago.
yeah, well, they won the World Series 2 years ago. So,
Oh, really? Was that it?
Yeah. They beat the Mets.
Wow. The Mets won the World Series 2 years ago.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Baseball
and they're
time.
terrible now.
They had a pretty rough season. Yeah, the Royals have been around 500 ever since the World Series, and they let go of some of their best players. But you know how fandom is. Actually, I don't know how your fandom is, but I have to be slavishly loyal to the Royals. I mean, it'll be fun to watch this series. Apparently, it's going to be the hottest Game 1 of the World Series ever.
Yeah. I mean, it's late October. 24th today, 23rd?
Is it 100? I didn't check the weather.
They said it was going to be 100.
Yeah. It was like 104 yesterday.
Jeez, it's in October.
Yeah.
I mean,
in late October.
It's tough to argue against global warming now when you see moments like this. I know you can't just do one day at a time and say that's global warming, but man, it is hot.
No,
this is hot for like August.
It's stand in the parking lot and just sweat hot.
Yeah. Oh, we're right near Dodger Stadium actually now.
Are we?
This is, I think, if I'm right, this is Griffith Park.
Is it?
Or some edge of it.
Are we back into Los Angeles
like
proper?
I might be way wrong, but it just looks like we're about to go back into it, or the top end of it.
And have you lived here? Oh, you lived in West Hollywood.
I lived in West Hollywood.
Okay.
I moved here after college at the University of Maryland, and I was
Right.
like, let's take a chance now.
And was that with like the entertainment business in mind?
Yeah, I took some screenwriting classes in college, so I was like,
Okay.
maybe I'll try that, but then I never did it. I just, there's Griffith Park.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, make a right.
Oh, right at this intersection right here?
Yeah,
Oh, I
not
can't.
this one, the next
Yeah.
one. Where's this
Oops.
one?
Cool.
Does it give a look of better than us? No, sort of.
Yeah.
I love when people like have to do short stops and everyone else gets to have that moment of like, well,
Made
I've
you
never
stop.
done that in my life ever, so I get to look down on you.
Well, I'm still sort of in this rental car, getting used to the new rental car. So like I had a hybrid yesterday and it got a flat tire and there was no spare, and so now I have a pickup truck.
Giant pickup truck?
Yeah.
It's great.
I think I was in Mozambique the last time I had a rental pickup truck.
How was your last trip?
Well, let's see. Well, I went to Paris and Iceland since I saw you last.
Oh yeah, I saw the pictures of Iceland.
Yeah, it was great. I went there with my family.
It's gorgeous, huh?
Oh, have you been there?
Yeah, I went
Okay.
there on tour, and my friend lived there, so he's like, "Let me be your tour guide," and I was like, "For sure."
So where'd you go?
I went to the north,
Okay.
to the geyser.
A Curry or to the
We took a plane up to the north. We started in Reykjavik. I saw 2 concerts in Reykjavik: Brian Wilson and Justin Bieber.
No kidding.
Yeah, because he had tickets to Brian Wilson, and then the promoter of my show was like, "We're promoting Bieber tomorrow if you want to go." And me and this other guy named Ari were like, "We may as well go, right?"
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, Bieber is barely a ping on my radar. He's just somebody I read about online. Sometimes.
Yeah, no, me too. I mean, I've heard of songs, sort of.
I know that dates me, but I wouldn't know a Justin Bieber song.
Did you see Northern Lights?
I didn't know. I mean, the days were so long. What time of year did you go?
September. And I didn't see them. They were like, you got to catch a good day if it's in September.
I did Tinder my last day in Iceland.
How's that?
Isn't that a place like you just wonder like what's it like to date someone in?
Well, I've heard in places like that they really want to date out of their small
Gene pool?
Yeah, like they really want that.
Yeah.
So like, travelers get laid, but then the problem is too like, if anybody's got chlamydia, it just rips through the population.
Huh. I hadn't thought of it in those terms.
Yeah.
and that thought that far into Icelandic Tinder.
Yeah. Did you like meet anybody?
Well, I was with my family most of the time, so just like the last day I was there, I went on and thought, well, let's just see what's on offer here.
Yeah.
And so I had some conversations, and humorously enough, like one of them worked at the Saga Museum, and so, like I was standing in a room with her. I mean, that's how small Iceland is. I'd been standing in a room with her like the day before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then we connected on Tinder. They seemed really sweet, They seemed like they would be fun to meet, but I was leaving and I wasn't going to go on a Tinder date when I was with my family.
Do you go on Tinder dates when you go to other countries? That seems like a good way to get to know like a local area. Just like tell me about shit.
Yes, and people do that. I actually dated a woman for a couple of years who I met on Tinder while I was traveling. I was bored. I just flown over the Atlantic. I had a transfer in London, and so I just bored. I don't know how you use it. Sometimes it's interesting just to sort of look at human nature and sort of the population demographics through a dating app.
Yeah.
And actually, Los Angeles is full of really good-looking women.
Oh my God, dude! As soon as you land, I forget. When you land at the airport, you're like, "What the fuck?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, L.A."
Well, New York is similar too, but
similar. New York is like the Princeton to L.A.'s Harvard.
You think so?
Where it's like it's a good school, but relax. Maybe there's more. It's like a bigger school.
One thing about New York too is that you have a lot more humans per square block, and so the odds that you're going to see someone
you're constantly
insanely
coming in
good looking
yeah.
is very strong. Whereas, and I was thinking in terms of like social media apps. So like when you get on Tinder in Los Angeles, it's just maybe they just take good pictures, but there's just a lot of very good looking women.
Yeah, they're more self-absorbed here, so you're getting a lot of pictures.
Right.
Being taken all the time. Like, I look good right now. Take this. Take this.
Well, and then also it's like, oh, here's someone who works in a dentist's office or someone who's in realty, and all their pictures look like they were done with a professional photographer, like with those special umbrella lights and stuff,
Yeah. The funny thing is that boyfriends are now at this stage where it's like they're constantly taking pictures of their girlfriends. Like when they go on a hike, like, oh, take this. Like, no, take another one. No,
right.
Doesn't work, take another one. So they're constantly taking these pictures of their girlfriends, and then those pictures are going to get used when you break up for the girlfriend to move on to another guy.
Right, yeah. No, I had, what happened is I matched in London when I wasn't even going to London. And then we had a first date in Paris, and then we dated for 2 years.
Wow. Wow.
And
you just sort of like kept chatting online and then...
Yeah, well,
then, like, hey,
I'm so international that why would I... It's not that weird to have a girlfriend in London, because I'm sort of based in Kansas, but not really. I spent a lot of time in New York and Paris and other places too. So we just tried to make it work, and met all over the world. So my experience with that dating app is, I don't know if people, certainly a lot of people end up dating for a long time with someone they met on a Tinder type app, but
there's marriages now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. Actually, yeah, there was a time earlier in that year where I just sort of discovered it, and it's actually a lot of fun. It's a great way to meet women, and then almost as soon as I started using it, then I dated monogamously one woman for 2 years. So
it's done.
So but since we split up, I used it in Iceland, had some fun conversations, and then sometimes I just use it. Like I use it here in LA and had some matches, but then it's just like I'm too
busy to actually go on one.
Yeah, I can't really be bothered to meet
luckily,
up.
that's LA, so everyone's too busy to be bothered.
Yeah, but it's just interesting to sort of see what women look like, how they present themselves, what they complain about. Do you use these apps that much?
I had to get off Tinder.
Okay.
Because a few years ago, because it was just taking up so much time, just swiping all the time. And then I hooked up with a couple girls off it, but not worth it. Like,
really?
Time versus value. Yeah, it just wasn't working for me.
There's a deep...
But it would be cool in another country to do that.
Yeah.
It's a deep what?
No, you should... Oh, a deep pool in New York.
Yeah.
It's like there are just so many interesting people in New York.
Yeah, I meet girls after shows.
Okay.
And then it's like, that was funny, and then you're like, you're cool, like, let's go to the bar, one of the 30 bars within 10 feet of us.
Right.
And grab a drink, on any night of the week that's open till 4 a.m.
Right.
And then you can talk that way, and then just like, yeah, okay, this wasn't. I'm out of here. But like, no harm.
Okay.
If it's not cool, and if it is, then it's like, I don't know, she was neat.
Well, we've both talked before about introversion.
Yeah.
But I think my profession makes me less public, unless of course I'm traveling. But even then, it's not like I'm on a stage with an audience and can meet people afterwards. Except when I'm on book tour. So.
Yeah, I will say that idea of like going out to a bar afterwards with girls, it doesn't really happen that much.
Okay.
It would happen if my guy friends are all going also. And then it's like,
Right.
hey, let's all, so I have some like people to run stuff off.
Right.
Yeah, new people, I get shy
Really?
around. Yeah.
Huh.
Audiences are faceless.
That's true.
So like, I can be open to them, it doesn't matter. And then afterwards, a one-on-one becomes like way harder
Okay.
to say like the same things I would be saying, not, to 100 people.
Right. So you're alluding to your introversion.
Yeah.
Okay.
You think you are one?
An introvert?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm comfortable. Maybe obviously the same way. You're a
Look
comedian.
at that, just some hot mom.
Which one? Oh, the one with the black dress?
Black dress, just like some
and
super
like
hot mom on a
12-year-old?
fucking Tuesday.
Yeah. No, actually at the rental office when I was picking up this truck an hour ago, like hot moms dropped by.
So what were you saying, introversion? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. There's probably going to be like 20 minutes of this that's keepable because it's just
just play the whole thing. That's what I would do.
Just sort of
always
open,
play the whole things.
Right. Like sort of 90 seconds of conversation offset by like, where the hell are we? Oh, Griffith Park. Yeah, the sagas. Oh, hot mom. Tinder.
No, these travel podcasts are great because people feel like they're in the back seat.
Right.
Yeah, they feel like they're fine. They're with you.
Well, that's what I'm hoping to approximate. I listen to podcasts so much, and then I've participated in some, including yours, where I just sort of enjoy drifting laterally a little bit.
What do you mean?
Well, just sort of going off topic or riffing on something interesting. And so even though I listen to podcasts for topic or personality-driven reasons, my favorite podcasts are just when it's like hanging with friends, or like just
the meanderings.
Yeah, the meanderings and just sort of the weird insights that people deliver in random unguarded moments.
Yeah. Yeah, if you really like let your guard down.
Yeah, or just forget that you're in an interview.
Hence, Phil Mikes in a car.
Right. No, I did this once too with and this is like season 1, and I keep fucking things up. Like setting MP3 instead of WAV and.
Yeah. You'll get it. I lost a few.
Did you?
Yeah, like you have to record twice, and I hit record once, and just like an hour in, but like, God damn it.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping to avoid that. We'll see. I'm sure I'll lose something. You just have to get the routine down. But even like the idea is that it's like Deviate with Rolf Potts podcast. You sort of deviate from what you're supposed to talk about, but then like I went to.
That's like what you do in the world, by the way. You just deviate your way to wherever.
Well, yeah, at its best,
Yeah.
I drift. I go to, as a travel writer, my favorite moments are when I go without a mission, without a magazine assignment, and just what happens. But it can be sort of hard to arrange. Like, so my first test interview was with my friend Jessa, who's like an author, and lives in Kansas City, so she was close to visit. And I'm here. Well, we can't talk about literature. She used to do the Book Slut blog. I don't know if you know the Book Slut. She's like one of the first big blog era literary critics. Very opinionated and funny. But I'm like, well, we can't talk about books, so we want to talk about it. And so she's like, Keanu Reeves. So we go to talk about Keanu Reeves, and we're drinking. And it's just, I realized that I probably should have like watched John Wick, or like my Keanu Reeves knowledge was nil.
Yeah.
And so. Yeah.
Like Matrix only, and then you're like, I don't know, does he do other movies?
Yeah. So it was a very flat, and so she has this very specific female relationship to Keanu Reeves that alludes to things, and so she was talking about certain scenes in certain movies and certain things he's done. I just needed to do my research. And maybe we shouldn't have front-loaded it to Keanu Reeves anyway. And like, who gives a shit about Keanu Reeves? I mean...
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's cool when somebody has a passion about something. So, like, if you take somebody who's like, let's say I interviewed Charles Barkley, and, like, obviously you'd be like, basketball. But you're like, no, you're into grilling. Let's talk about that.
Well, that's exactly what I have in mind. Because I get the sense that there's people and this is not me, because we talked about travel for 3 hours, and I had a blast. But I think there's people maybe who have to promote a film or a book, or they're a sports star and that's retired, and they're tired of talking about how many yards rushing they had in 1995, and really all they want to talk about is what a barbecue, Magic the Gathering,
and they never get a chance to talk about it.
And they never get a chance.
So if they open up, it's like such a real, interesting. Like you're with a person.
Yes.
And
you're with something that they're actually excited about in a non-prescriptive way. That everybody else asks them about X, and they just want to talk about.
You can hear interviews when you like, oh, you've said this 20 times. The exact same way. You're on autopilot. You've rehearsed it.
And I mean, I can hear myself saying that. Like there's some vagabonding maxims that just flow right out. And I don't do enough interviews that I'm bored by them. But it's like, this is the way I say it. It makes a lot of sense this way, and so I'm just going to say this 20-word phrase for the 30th time. I mean, do you have that? I mean, you do a lot of podcasts, but I suspect you do a lot of riffing that people aren't saying, well, tell us about being a comedian.
But there's still shit that comes up like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, how'd you get started? I don't know, dumb stuff. Where it's like, it's just like, I figured out how to say it the best, so I'm going to say it exactly the same every time. This is the clearest way to say it.
Well, I just picked you up from a podcast. What were you doing there?
Sports podcast, Punch Drunk Sports.
Okay.
Me and my friends just like, we would hang out behind the Comedy Store and just talk shit about sports. Like we'd say it's like 30% sports, and then 70% whatever else. Like,
Okay, so what did you talk about today? Like the World Series?
Baseball a little bit, because we have one fan who's a Dodgers fan.
Yeah.
We talked about that's Sam Tripoli. That's the shirt I'm wearing. Some fan sent me this Sam Tripoli's fat shirt, so I broke it out.
Sam Tripoli? Who's Sam Tripoli?
He's my co-host.
Oh, okay. I thought this was some CC Sabathia type sports person.
No.
Sorry, Sam. I don't know who you are.
Yeah. And we talked about who's hotter, like 80s hot or today hot, or 90s hot or today's hot, where it's like, we looked at like Nicole Brown Simpson and Vanna White, and we're like, they're not that hot. We remember them being hotter. But when you look at them now, it's like not even close.
But what if you, and I don't want to like make you retread what you just talked about, but like if you put Vanna White like in yoga pants and
we look at pictures of her like she was in Playboy.
Okay.
We looked at her at her best.
Okay.
And it was like, yeah, she's hot, but like not this blow me away, like Tiffany Amber Thiessen we're looking at too. She was hot. She was super cute, great body, from Saved by the Bell.
Right, yeah. No, somehow I missed that.
Oh, yeah.
That whole Saved by the Bell thing. How old are you?
43.
Okay, yeah. So I got a few years on you. And so I was leaning into the 90s, like right in grunge 90s.
Oh, really?
So I hit the sweet spot of the 90s.
Yeah, how old were you during Nirvana?
I was 20. I was a month from being 21 when Nevermind came out.
Okay.
And I had listened to Bleach before Nevermind because I was living in the Pacific Northwest, and mixtapes were going around. I listened to Mother Love Bone. It's so funny.
Mother Love Bone. Wow.
There was this evangelical aspect. I remember getting a tape with Jane's Addiction on one side and Fugazi on the other. And I loved Jane's Addiction so much that it was like 3 months before I listened to Fugazi.
You just kept rewinding and listening to one side?
Yeah. And then they ended up being huge bands for me in the 90s. But then it was the same way, that since I was a Jane's fan, a friend thought I would like Mother Love Bone, and I was fine with Mother Love Bone, but Bleach was on the other side, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
But because I was so cheap, I didn't actually buy Bleach. I just sort of had this tape with Bleach on the other side. I didn't even know the names of the songs.
Dude, I hadn't bought any music for about maybe 20 years after CDs and before, like, right now. I just got into it. Once, like, pirating came out, I was like, oh, I'm in.
Yeah.
I've got it now. I'll listen to tons of stuff.
Right. This guy has his NLCS championship flag on his car. No, this was me 2 years ago because the Royals were in the World Series.
That must have been exciting. I had a George Brett rookie card. That was my highlight of all my cards.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't have that, but I was a cheap kid. I recorded songs off the radio, and
I didn't buy it. I actually stole it from my friend. My friend's brother.
I stole a Roger Staubach off a friend once.
Really?
Yeah, but I was at an age where I was just crippled with guilt, and so eventually I brought it back to him and told him I stole it by accident. Yeah, I said, "Oh yeah, I took this." Yeah.
I've got to find mine and give it to Hersey Ginsburg. I'm like, it's probably worth way less now, actually.
Hersey Ginsburg?
Yeah, Herzl.
Who's Herzl Ginsburg?
That's the brother of the kid I took it from. That's my friend.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I love how when you're a kid, like you don't even know why things are right and wrong. You're just like, I guess it's wrong, but like,
Right.
does it make sense to you? Like now I'm like, I don't want stuff stolen from me, so just don't steal. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Let's be a part of society.
I think there's a point when you're a kid when you realize that it's not that hard.
To what? To not steal?
To
Or
steal something.
Oh
yeah.
Did you shoplift when you were little?
I didn't. I was.
I did all the time.
No kidding.
Oh my God, I got good. I did it while I was with my mom once, and that I was nervous about. But like, yeah, I would always take something small. No respect.
Like food or?
No, not usually. Although now at airports I steal a lot.
Huh, still.
Yeah, I was in line trying to buy a banana yesterday. I landed at LAX and then the line was taking forever. And then I'm like, I can just turn and leave. And so I just do. Fuck Hudson booksellers or whatever they are. I don't care about them.
So how was your world? Because you grew up religious, right? So did that frame your worldview?
Couldn't justify what I was doing.
Okay, but you didn't feel bad. You didn't feel like a gut level remorse.
No, not on that. Not on that. I should have. I just wasn't old enough to do the math. Like, don't steal. It's in the 10.
Right.
You should not be doing this.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh yeah, of course not. But then I wouldn't steal from people except for Herzl's baseball card.
And you stole the George Brett from Herzl.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm going to find that guy now. I realize this now. I'm going to find him and give that back. Let him know.
So you still have it?
Yeah, I just gave my collection to my nephew for his bar mitzvah. I was like, you sell it all. It's yours.
Did you do sports growing up? Did you have a sport?
Yeah, basketball mostly.
Okay.
Jewish school, so I was a center.
Okay. Actually, interesting fact. I was doing my my pre-podcast research about you, and Google has a little list of autocompletes at the bottom.
Yeah.
And
like Ari Shaffir and then whatever fills in.
Right, and actually, one of them was Ari Shaffir wife, and there's a Rolf Potts wife if you Google Rolf Potts.
Really?
So I guess people are trying to figure out if we're married.
That's just women.
And then my weird one, like yours was Netflix or comedian or whatever, and mine was vagabonding or stuff like that. But my other weird one was net worth. People are trying to figure out like my net worth.
If your life of travel has brought you like
right, if I'm like some trust
value.
Fund kid who who I'm just assuming here, but should we go left, right?
Right. Colorado. We'll see where that takes us.
All right.
That takes us downtown.
And yours is height.
Really?
Like your non-professional weird one is wife and height. So how tall are you?
6'3".
Okay.
What about you?
About the same.
Yeah.
I used to call myself 6'2", but then I found that I was always taller than people that called themselves 6'2".
Yeah, I think I'm 6'2.5".
Yeah, so we're about the same height, I think.
Yeah. And I'm friends with Joe Rogan, who's like surprisingly shrimpish.
Right.
And then people see us next to each other. Maybe that's what it is. Like, wait, what?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I'm friends with Tim Ferriss, and we actually, speaking of flaneur, we walked. It wasn't really flaneuring because we weren't wandering, but we walked to Versailles from Notre Dame.
Wow.
It was like 15 miles.
Yeah.
And then when we were there, we took a selfie, and I don't really think of Tim in terms of height, but I'm just like a lot taller than him.
Yeah. That's cool when you realize somebody's like, oh, you're tiny, huh?
Yeah, well, I guess it's one of those things. I guess there's certain characteristics when you're hanging out with someone that you just don't think about. So I guess maybe I don't usually think of height unless someone's a lot taller than me or a lot shorter than me, or just like we're driving in a car. I was traveling around with my friend Ernest White, who's a travel writer and sort of a new friend, and we went meta into our friendship and sort of talked about how he's black and gay and I'm white and straight, but yet somehow that was not really, obviously, I didn't know he was gay at first, but it just was a non-issue until it became a part of the conversation.
Yeah. And
so that entire podcast is just me turning on the recorder because I hadn't planned on interviewing him, and we're just talking about that, So what does this mean, and what is it like, and what does it matter being short, black, white, gay, straight, male, female, whatever. Anyway, I mean, did you, like with Joe Rogan,
I never really noticed his height until you think about it.
Right, yeah.
Especially when there's big people, like fat. I never know how tall fat people are.
Huh.
Because that's their big characteristic.
Would you call Patton Oswalt fat?
No. If I was friends with him, I'd call it tied to his face to razz him, but I wouldn't refer to him as fat. No.
Okay.
I mean, way into obese.
Okay.
John Kennedy was fat.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Hey, Patton Oswalt is like non-American fat, but American normal.
I guess I'm going to go right
No,
here.
no, go right. I've never been on this bridge.
Is this the Rose Parade?
And that's the fucking bridge. So we're going under it?
We're going under this bridge.
I've seen this bridge 1,000 times, but I've never been on it.
Is this the Rose Parade bridge?
I
the
think so.
Pasadena Rose Parade bridge?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, we should have gone left and gone over it. But whatever.
Well, you've probably been over it.
Yeah, no, I've never been on it. I always take the freeway past that.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. So a lot of people commit suicide off that bridge.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting fact.
Right.
Talking
about the Deviate podcast, we're on like our 80th topic of conversation.
Yeah.
How far into the are we?
What are we at?
Almost at an hour.
What have you decided like what you're aiming for these?
Well, I'm gonna aim like for an hour, and then I'm gonna have some shorter episodes. But in honor of you, this is gonna be as long as it needs to be. Because you do long podcasts.
Dude, I got better response off your podcast with me than I've gotten off almost anybody.
Really?
Yeah. I can see the response on Twitter. People have a desire to do what you do.
Yeah, interesting. Well, it was a good conversation. I mean, not to self-congratulate, but you obviously had the energy. Like you had traveled not that long ago.
Yeah.
And so there was just sort of this energy, like just sort of this edge to what our conversation was. And I think you asked people to mention, retweet and mention or whatever. I got a ton of retweets and Instagram mentions on that.
Yeah, but I mention that a lot and people don't always go for it.
Interesting. Huh?
Yeah. There is a population that is like way into the idea of like hanging up the cleats and just going out there.
Okay. And wandering the earth.
Yeah, and just seeing things. But they're met with this internalized, like from the outside, like pushed into them, like, but you can't really do that.
Well, yeah, there's so much fear. And it's not, even with all the information about travel these days, it really hasn't dulled the fear. It's made it worse, in some senses that there's this sense that the world is this horrible place. But of course it isn't,
It's not. It's pretty great. Even like Afghanistan or Syria. Like when you say Syria, my first thought is like, are you crazy? Yeah. And then it's like, no, you had a great time. So like, what are we talking about?
I don't know if I would go there now, but I went there during its Axis of Evil years. And it's truly one of my favorite places and some of the nicest people you could meet anywhere.
Damn, I have no idea where we are.
No idea at all.
Nice.
Do you not use a smartphone? Did I read that correctly?
I got one of these. I went a little harder than a flip phone.
Okay.
I got a, what is this now? The Gravity 2. But it flips up, so like if I text, I can like text with full keyboard. Around there, yeah. It's all the future of whatever that is. It got too much for me.
I think that's so. I have such a conflicted relationship with technology.
It gives you amazing things,
right?
And then your unhappiness level will increase too. I don't know how to control it.
Oh, it does. And this is something that's happened to me recently, like within the last month, trying to write against a deadline.
I want to fucking look at even this now. I see it in my pocket. I'm like, I should look at who texted. It's like, why?
Well, that's like, so we're lost basically. And so if you had a phone, you could just drop a pin and see where we are.
Right. So your first thought is that's better.
Right.
But now knowing what you know and knowing what I know, that's not better.
That's not better, because then you understand place through its abstraction. A map is an abstraction, a useful abstraction of a concrete place.
A useful abstraction of a concrete place. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it takes a concrete setting and it makes it abstract in such a way that it represents the physical environment in a way that's useful to people who are trying to get around.
Yeah.
Los Angeles is so big, man. We're like in some wealthy neighborhood on top of a mountain.
This is wealthy as shit.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, like the servants' quarters are bigger than the house I grew up in.
Right.
The
Cato Kalin houses. So was there a breaking point for you?
I've been talking to my friend Soder. By the way, me and my friend Bert Kreischer, we're going on this, the Impractical Jokers have a TV show on True TV, and they do a cruise, and so me and him are going on it, and we're like, we're going to dock in like fake Mexico,
Okay, yeah.
like tourist Mexico, where it's just
Cozumel
things like that, where it wasn't even around 20 years ago, but now they have tour ships, so like build a thing, sell them sombreros, tell them it's authentic. And he said we should gift something to someone.
Okay.
To our friends who aren't that like adventurous, and like go out to a bar there and be like, hey, listen, We roofied you. We've taken your wallet and your license. Good luck heading home. You're going to pass out now.
Okay.
And then knowing they'd be mad, but the experience they'd get out of it would be like life-changing.
Yeah.
But if they died, we'd be in serious trouble. Or if they lost an arm or something, we'd be like seriously fucked. But it's like...
Maybe you'd have to trail them with someone from the insurance department.
Yeah, maybe. But we like if you could go from far away, like Truman Show kind of thing, where it's like you can keep track of them without them knowing.
Yeah. And it's weird that it's come to that, that we have to trick each other or trick ourselves into actually experiencing things in a way that wasn't that weird.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Just a few years ago, right?
People couldn't believe that I would shut off my email and my Facebook, all that shit, and just leave my phone on my desk and just go like, how are you gonna get around? I'm like, how did Uncle Gilbert do it? Or whatever. People went 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They all did it this way. It's not the prairie days.
Yeah, well, yeah, and my first vagabonding trip was in '94. And there wasn't even... I remember when like, MapQuest had a function where you could print out directions?
Triptychs. That's why you went to LA.
Yeah.
Triptych. And they would print out directions, stuff to do along the way, in case you get stopped here. And then you look at the road maps, the road signs, and be like, oh, okay, that's this.
And that just seemed so futuristic at the time. And now that's just like, well, why would you look at something when you can just have your phone tell you where to go?
Yeah, exactly. Where you tell you exactly what you need to do. I think right here. I want to see what this is.
Okay. We're at Berkshire and Woodley in... somewhere outside.
I see this like thing they built up for like hiking shit.
This thing here?
I don't know. It's like down there in the last little. Maybe it's this.
Water conservation alert status.
Oh, maybe you can't
that
go
might
there.
just be the water.
It was like built up. Maybe it's the thing over there. I don't know. Like a trail.
It's a pleasant little part of wherever this is. We were in Pasadena a second ago. I don't know how big Pasadena is.
I like this getting lost situation. I do this more. This is like a good date situation.
Right.
Let's just drive.
We're sort of auto-flaneuring. Basically led by the psychogeographical operating principle is my lack of paying attention. I'm just sort of going straight.
Yeah, it felt unpleasant to be in traffic earlier. I'm like, let's get the left lane, I guess.
Yeah.
My straw was, me and my friend Dan Soder were talking about it, how this effect is having on our lives, how we're always on it. And then we're like, maybe we should get rid of our data plan.
Okay.
Off our iPhones.
Okay. And did you do that?
No. While I was like considering it and trying to like build up the courage, like it's amazing that it takes courage to do that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I left my phone in a cab.
Okay.
And you're not getting it back. Unless you pay with a credit card, you're just ain't getting it back.
Oh, if you leave a phone.
Yeah, in an Uber you got a chance.
Yeah.
In a cab, there's just no way.
I did that in New Haven once. I left my very first iPhone in a cab, and there's just no way.
Yeah, it's just like you call them and like, no, nothing's been turned in. I was like, yeah, why would they turn it in? If someone, the next fare didn't take it, Yeah. I didn't have the auto thing on, and I knew it was on like lock, so it's like, fuck.
I totally lost it that way.
Yeah, and so I was shopping for a new one. I was like, well, maybe I'll get a Samsung instead. I heard they're getting better than the iPhones, at least back then, 3 years ago. And I did the thing where you like try it for a week and then like return it. You have a week to return it. And then I tested an iPhone for a week and then returned that 6 days in. And then I was like, before I was deciding, I was like, let me just get a shitty flip phone in the meantime. And then I just stuck with it. I just like stuck with it. Those free phones you get at Best Buy.
And how is that? We were just here, weren't we?
Maybe, yeah.
How did that change? What are your lessons learned?
Okay, instantly. I mean, the day of, I was more social.
Okay.
I was talking to a comic, Nikki Glazer, and she was like, so how is it? I'm like, I've got it today. I would not be talking to you. I would be on my phone trying to fill in the uncomfortable with amazing treats, the future. It's all there on your iPhone. It's an amazing device. But I wouldn't be talking to my colleague. It's like you converse with people. You talk. One of my favorite things to see is I went to that Yankee Game 5 too, and to see people on the Jumbotron not realize on the Jumbotron because they're down on their phones.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is the most exciting thing next to catching a foul ball in baseball as a fan.
Is getting on a Jumbotron. Yeah.
I did it once.
The trick is to bring a sign.
Bring a sign. I did it with one of my friends at Dodger Stadium, regular season game, and I was just like having a good time dancing, and I saw the fucking camera guy like looking at me, and I was like, hey, I'm getting on the Jumbotron in a second. And then I just kept fucking funky dancing, and then I was on. And they're like, how'd you do it? And I was like, you caught my eye, man. You know what a good thing was? It's so exciting. And I had been on television at that point. I was like, this is better.
Nice. It's weird how compulsive that is, though, because people are sort of crazy for foul balls and they're crazy for the jumbotron, but it's sort of dumb at the end of the day.
It's dumb.
Okay, so you're on a big screen.
Yeah.
Because I had a sign. I went to the last Royals game of the season this year, and I brought a sign that just said, "We are grateful," because like all of our best players are free agents at the end of the year.
I would let them know.
Yeah, just sort of a sentimental. Basically, it's my way of coming to emotional terms with the fact that the Royals aren't going to be good for a while.
Yeah.
And I think that the Royals fan base just has a sentimental relationship with like Eric Hosmer and Lorenzo Cain and Alcides Escobar and Mike Moustakas, and so it was just sort of my sentimental Royals fan thing. But people next to me started telling me that we were on television, so like their family was texting them because they were on my sign, but because they were sitting next to me.
Yeah.
But it was like this. They were very excited. It was a weird thing. These are people like in their 60s who were excited because they were on television because they were sitting next to me with my sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my sports dork confession. I made a sign for the last game of the Royals season.
That's cool. You got on. Getting on is like that's the dream of making a sign.
I also made the highlight reel because those 4 guys were pulled from the game at the 5th inning so they could do a curtain call.
Yeah.
And so they like put the camera to them and then they cut to me with my sign, and they cut back.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So if you look at the highlight reel from that game, this is such a dorky confession because it's just like not something.
It's great. You root for the team, man. Get lost in it.
Like I didn't put it on social media or anything because it's just sort of a weird thing to do. Like you're 46 years old and you sit down and you draw a sign that says thank you to some millionaire athletes. You
go to CVS. I'm like, do you guys have poster board? How do you do this anymore?
Yeah. No, I went to Hobby Lobby. I got a royal blue, or a powder blue sign, and I made my tribute to the Royals, and I got my section on television as a result.
Yeah, I was at the game and somebody was like, interview kids, they answer a trivia question and get like a $100 gift certificate to somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, they're right over there. Just even seeing them, like they're celebrities now.
Yeah.
For right now.
Or like seeing the hot dog race, I had seats on the field in Cleveland, Indians Royals this year.
Yeah.
And like the hot dog people were like running past, and it's just a weird sense of excitement that overtakes the crowd. It's like they're adults in wiener suits,
I love getting way too excited when they do the 3-car Monty with like baseball helmets, like which one on the Jumbotron. Yeah. It's already decided, but I'm like, that's fucking bullshit. Right. They fucking cheated. Like getting way too into it.
Yeah. No, yeah, the infantilization of sports stadium life, it must be part of the fun. I love baseball, actually. I even when I don't have a team that I really care about,
man.
Going to a
new
game.
Parks.
Yeah, they're nice parks. You drink beer that costs 5 times as much as it should, but then it's just slow pace of play. You bullshit. I don't know how knowledgeable you are about baseball, but sometimes I feel bad for the people sitting around me because I know, like I never played baseball. And can you recognize pitches?
No.
Okay.
You can?
No.
Okay.
Well, I can tell the difference between a curve and a fastball.
Yeah.
But is it a four-seamer? Is it a slider?
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no way. I just know like what they've reported on ESPN, but I know all that.
And so I'm one of these guys who, if I'm sitting next to another person with a reasonable interest in baseball, then I'm just thinking out loud the whole time. Like, oh, do you think he's going to do should they do a suicide? So once I was talking about a suicide squeeze, and somebody sitting next to me obviously realized that I didn't exactly know what a suicide squeeze was. But there's just something that brings out the bloviator in you when you're sitting next to, I was going to say dude friends, but even just any gender, male or female, who just is enjoying the game. And actually, if it's
camaraderie, it's really great.
Yeah, and then if you're with someone from another country who isn't into baseball, then you can sort of baseball-splain to them.
Oh yeah, you become the expert.
Right. Yeah, you become this.
Let me help you through this moment in your life.
Yeah. Like so the infield's in, right? So that means
that's because they're trying to turn a double play and they need to be closer to it. And they'll ask you a question, you don't know the answer, you just try to BS your way through it.
Then you're spitballing.
Figure out as you're saying it.
Yeah, the amount of fake expertise that I can exude with someone who knows about baseball less than me. Is that our bridge? Did we come back to it?
Yeah, maybe.
Do you want to go across it?
No, that's not it.
It's just a bridge.
It's just a bridge. I don't think that's the one.
We're driving in circles in Pasadena, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, technology. So
it's hard. You're going to give up some things. Or you're going to rediscover some like joys and stuff that
simple joys.
Yeah, that you had that you were like they're lost. The idea that you just start a conversation with somebody, like on the subway or something, that you just wouldn't. In uncomfortable moments, you want to be comfortable. So like, what's the quickest route to that? If I have a magazine, I'm sure I'll open that up. You know, that's why you have magazines on the toilet. You're bored and alone.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what can I read?
Yeah.
So instead of filling it in with that same shit, you fill it in with conversation or just like, I don't know, look around your surroundings.
Yeah. Or think.
Or think, exactly.
Actually, podcasts have, I hit an oversaturation of podcast listening because you can multitask anything with a podcast.
Have it in the background.
But then I went for, running has always been sort of a sacred space for me, and I listened to some podcasts on runs and just realized that I really need that associative stream of consciousness thought on my run. And sometimes when I'm writing, I'll solve narrative problems when I'm running.
Wait, okay.
So, so that's another thing. It's just even just being bored enough to let your mind wander and use your brain in useful ways that don't involve consuming something.
Walking really helps with that too, because
Yeah.
you're constantly
It's the same principle.
having new stimuli, getting your brain started on something.
Yeah.
You know, like we're just passing this dog shop, and I could write a bit about dogs if I let my mind wander on it, but it would have
Right.
been brought up by just walking past that.
Yeah. And that must be important for you to be able to associate and attach.
Yeah, model trains. Okay, trains. Oh, I had those when I was younger. Oh, you know, also was younger. Oh, that fucking baseball card that I stole from my little. You know, it's like
Right.
it's just something to get you there. But if you're just on your phone all day, you don't. So I just lost a bet. We bet Dodgers Yankees. They were tied earlier in the season for best record with my friend Sam Tripley, who's fat.
So this is a mid-season bet.
Yeah, and we said whoever finishes with the best record wins the bet. Loser loses. 16 games later, the Yankees were down 12 games. It was just like they turned it on and we turned it off. Anyway, so the deal was go off your phone for a day because Sam's always on his phone. And
Is
because
this
it's
Sam,
not,
your t-shirt Sam?
yeah,
Okay.
and because
Is
it's
he
not fair.
fat?
Yeah,
Okay.
sort of. It's not really.
Sorry,
but
it's what your t-shirt says.
No, you gotta trust the t-shirt, man.
Yeah.
Make a left here. Maybe we'll pass a burrito place. Anyway, and that's not fair because my smartphone is easy for me to get off. So I was like, all right, I'll also do computer. No computer, no phone. And then I fucked up and I texted somebody back and they caught me. So I was like 2 days.
Okay.
And so during those 2 days, I'd wake up in the morning and I would just lie in bed. I'd think for about 35, 40 minutes. Just let my mind wander, nothing to do. I'm also a comic, so I don't have to go to work.
Right.
But normally I'd be on my phone instantly. Let me see emails. Plenty of stuff to justify. And then still had nothing to do, so I picked up a book, read a chapter of that, and then I was like,
Do you want me to turn left and go in a square or just keep going?
I don't know.
Okay. You seemed decisive for a second, so I thought maybe.
So we're going further and further away, and I just realized we're getting away from whatever.
Okay. All right, so you
Yeah,
wake
and
up in the morning.
I would come home at like 2:30 after the finish of the Comedy Cellar, and normally I'd check all my shit, my social media, my email, get catch up on everything, and even texts, and I couldn't do it. So I just came home, I'd take off my shoes and my shirt, and I just went to bed. I was asleep 12 minutes after I got home, getting more sleep. And then the next morning, woke up and just like nothing to do again. And then I would just be waiting for 8 o'clock to roll around so I could go do my spots. So I could go do work, I guess, technically.
So you weren't killing time.
I was like, what should I do? So I took a walk. I went to the bagel place I like, and I'm still like, fucking all right. You know, I rode a little bit. And like, almost everybody doesn't have enough time in the day. That's not a unique experience to anybody today.
Right.
I had too much time.
Interesting.
It was annoying. I was like, I gotta kill some of this.
But you
So
were-
like, what am I doing that's not letting me have enough time in the day when I literally do have more than enough? And I think I gotta do this. I gotta get off. I gotta get off like all of it or something, or do the Tim Ferriss thing of like, 1 or 2 days a week, check everything, and then every other day not.
That's interesting. The thought that popped in my head just now is like, you kill time one way or another, but we've stopped doing it organically.
Yeah.
We've stopped killing time by having a bullshit conversation or playing cards or going for a walk.
Yeah.
And you look at the dialogues from the 50s to the 80s, and it's all about how television is clouding our minds and killing our distraction.
Even that, it'd be nice to catch up on my Netflix shows that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
And it's like,
But even now, God, I haven't had a TV in years, but I'll watch something on Netflix, but I'll have other tabs open. And I've found that oftentimes I won't watch a movie all the way through.
yeah, because you're constantly being distracted.
Or whatever,
I remember Tarantino once said about Pulp Fiction. And he was like, I know you're not going to watch it at the movie theater. He goes, all I'm asking is that you just put away the laundry until the movie's over. Just watch it. Just put away the other shit. And that was before smartphones, before all that shit had our distractions. It's like, just get lost in it for a minute.
Have you rewatched Pulp Fiction recently?
I watched it like so many times. I've not watched it in the last 10 years, but it was like my favorite movie for a long time.
Well, you and me and every white guy in America of a certain demographic, you know. There was something, and in fact, that's something that's changed. I remember the sense of excitement before Pulp Fiction came out. It's like, it feels like if you were of a certain demographic, you just knew it was a movie to watch.
Yeah.
And like you, I watched it many times and then sort of hit my carrying capacity.
Yeah.
It's almost like other things from that era. Like I mentioned Jane's Addiction, but I don't listen to a lot of Jane's Addiction anymore.
I remember liking them, yeah.
Because I just listened to them so much that I hit a saturation point. Anyway, I watched it when my nephew was in Paris before Iceland. We watched Pulp Fiction because it was a tradition. I showed it to his brother at that age.
What you're going to say, yeah.
And it was so interesting to see how much of Pulp Fiction was about relationships, about husbands and wives or boyfriends and girlfriends. That you have Butch and Fabian, right, who spend a lot of their time talking about the relationship.
Yeah, right?
The whole Gold Watch story is about the fact that, well, his relationship with his father, but also the fact that Fabian forgot the Gold Watch.
Oh, yeah.
And that has created this complication. You can almost see Tarantino thinking as a screenwriter, what I'm going to throw into this situation.
Yeah, he's got to go back for that watch.
Right, and then you have the drug dealer Lance and his wife, and they're arguing. They're sort of having this very domestic argument over where their medical kit is stored while Uma Thurman is dying. You have Pumpkin and Honey Bunny, you know, who are basically, they're having a vocational argument about whether to stay in their current line of work. And then, of course, you have Marcellus and Mia Wallace and Vic Vega taking her out. And very basic conversations about the parameters of propriety inside of a marriage. Would you throw Tony Rockahora off of a balcony
for hooking up with your girl or
for touching her feet? Yeah. So anyway, that was like in his 40s, Rolf. Like I tried to write it. Did you try to write a Pulp Fiction screenplay when you were in your 20s?
No, but
I feel like so many people did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I wrote a screenplay, I would have.
Yeah. That was my thing. I wrote it. Actually, yesterday I interviewed the Sharknado guy, and I actually wrote it for that company back before.
Really?
When they were just a B movie company, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know. They actually liked it. This is in the 90s. And then they're here. Oh, well, we like this, but you need to change this in Act 2. And I'm thinking, what the hell is Act 2? You know, I just wrote this stuff down. So, roundabout way of saying that I was drawn to the funny conversations and the violence.
Yeah. Not
realizing that all these years later that it's actually sort of a slow movie sometimes. My nephew loved it because it's a weird movie.
Yeah,
and I think he'd never seen anything like it. But then you watch it and you realize how much time is spent. Oh, then the Bonnie situation, right? Bonnie is the wife who's coming home, and if there's a dead dude in the garage, then his marriage is over. So that's like
fucked. I'm fucked. You got to clear this out. Where it's like not even about like there's actually a dead person. I'm gonna take care of this. Like I'm
gonna get divorced.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jules,
I'm going to get divorced. There's no trial separation. And so that's like 5 or 6 male-female relationships that are vital.
I guess you can with the next one. That are vital in that, yeah.
That are vital to certain tensions, certain cinematic tensions in that movie. And so Vic Vega takes Mia Wallace out. It creates this tension about propriety with another man's wife, right?
Wow, interesting.
And then, just all that stuff. I think Pumpkin and Honey Bunny are interesting because there's this marital bond that's at the heart of their professional life as dipshit burglars.
Wow. One of the things I noticed when I studied it in college, Pulp Fiction, because we were studying American directors, and they're like, find an American director and study it. That Honey Bunny or whatever scene where it's like, nobody fucking move or I'll kill every motherfucking last one of you.
Yeah.
Usually they do that and they do it at the end too. They revisit it, you know?
It's different, right?
It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, why would he shoot it twice? Why not just use the exact same?
And was there an answer? Was there a hypothesis?
Because he's trying to say like these scenes, it's like they're not original to me. These are just like part of pulp culture. You know, where it's like they've been written 1,000 times. I'm just like co-opting them a little bit. And even when he puts himself in it, he's always shooting himself like through windows and stuff. Where he's like, "I'm the director, but I'm not directing this. This shit's just happening, out of my control."
That's a brilliant movie, actually.
Brilliant.
And he wrote that overseas.
Really?
He was in Amsterdam. Yeah, and that's why Vince and Jules are talking about McDonald's.
Royale with cheese.
Yeah.
Nice.
If you read about the creation of that movie, I think travel put him into a space that really put him into sort of a mountaintop narrative situation. He was able to juxtapose these things and create a really original movie that is just remarkable.
Wow.
Uphill or downhill?
I don't know.
We'll go uphill. We're going away from the burrito zone, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is sort of veering into stoner talk, with sort of fixating on the burrito specifically.
Yeah.
And that was actually one of the questions on my card.
What?
Should I do drugs?
Oh.
Because I
What do you
don't.
do now?
I've never done drugs.
I mean, you wrote a chapter of vagabonding pretty much on weed without really like saying it was about weed.
Yeah. Well, it was about partying, right?
Yeah.
And I drink. I mean, there's the operating principle from my lack of doing drugs doesn't really make sense. It's just something I've always never done.
Okay. I mean, that's not a good enough reason.
Okay.
For anything.
Yeah.
Anything that also that you get tons of people saying this has value.
Right. And I'll do it eventually, but at this point I haven't done drugs for so long that it feels like I should throw an occasion. Like I can't just do drugs. I have to throw a festival or something. Like I have to mark an occasion. It has to be like a wedding type event.
Well, what kind of drugs are you talking about?
Anything.
Well, I have started a international mushroom festival.
Well, I read about that, and I think that's why I wrote this down.
If you're looking for an occasion.
And right. But I think I want it to be all about me. Although maybe a mushroom festival. And what I read about your straight. Let's go straight.
Yeah,
look at that.
Yeah,
we're like
pretty
looking
cool.
downhill into the beautiful span of Southern California.
This is like the Beach Boys shit now. This is like residential Southern California.
Right down to the school here.
Distinguished school. Yeah. You read about what?
Well, you wrote very knowledgeably about shrooms.
Yeah.
Which it feels like that might be, like I don't think I would be a very good cocaine person because I think I would like it too much.
Coke sucks.
Haven't
Everybody
done
says
it.
Okay, I've done it 5 times. Always scared of it just because like the only experience I had when I was as a kid going through like a religious school was like people who had to do like public service to come speak to our school about the dangers of cocaine.
Really? About cocaine specifically?
Yeah, I was like, I lost my house, I lost my job, and I realize now it's like they would never have been doing that if not for them as part of their arrest.
Gotcha.
They had to give the 400 hours of community service.
Yeah. So basically they come and
but it got
lie
my
to
head. It
school
worked.
children.
It worked.
Okay.
I was scared of it. I was like, you're going to get addicted for sure. And then in LA, you met all these people who casually did coke.
Right.
And I was like, wait, what? I thought you get addicted. But it makes you annoying as fuck.
Well, I was going to say, I'm actually really naive when it comes to knowing if people are on drugs. I just think, oh, this guy's super talkative, you know?
Yeah.
He's not very interesting, but he's super talkative. And then somebody will say, yeah, actually, he's coked up.
Yeah.
Or it's like,
to the gills.
Like I spent Mardi Gras once with a group of friends, and there's this one guy who was just so charismatic and so comfortable with his masculinity and was always hugging and like, he was on ecstasy.
Molly,
you know?
yeah.
And the next day he was a total prick. And it's like the whole night I just thought he was just the coolest guy ever who had no inhibitions and was just so comfortable with himself. And then the next day he was a total dickhead, you know. It's just he was on
But that
drugs.
made him a better person that day to hang around with.
It was, yeah.
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 So I used to go...
It made Mardi Gras more fun for me.
Yeah. I used to go in Vegas with Joe Rogan a lot. I opened for him. He was the first guy to really take me on the road to open for him. It was really nice, really helpful to my career. But we do Vegas a lot of times because he do UFC shows. He's a UFC commentator.
Right, yeah, that guy's sort of a polymath.
A polymath?
Well, he has a lot of different topics, you know. He speaks. I don't listen to his podcast a lot, but he's a thoughtful guy, but he's also sort of buff. Apparently he's not tall.
Yeah.
And then he's knowledgeable. I guess UFC seems exotic to me because it's not my sport.
Yeah.
And so it seems just like this technically...
He's real knowledgeable on it too.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's technically different and specific.
We're just circling deeper into the heart of suburbia, aren't we?
Yeah, I don't know where we are anymore, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I have no idea.
Let me check the gas gauge. We're good. We're at a quarter tank.
Okay. I feel like we're eventually going to get back to Orange Grove. Yeah, I think we'll be okay that way. Get back to Burrito Land.
Straight?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, drugs, right? So I completely agree. I've always been like a drug legalization guy.
That's nice. That's nice. I'm happy with those people. They're like, just because it's not for me doesn't mean it's not for everybody.
Right. And actually, I was on jury duty once, and this is an interesting social situation where it was in north central Kansas, and there's maybe some meth problems in some communities there, and so it was sort of this meth trial. And they're here, well, what are your opinions on drugs? And does anybody here think the drugs should be legal? And I was the only one that raised my hand. And then I explained, and then everybody else agreed, that for whatever reason people thought, I don't know, what, are they going to get busted? Are they going to get their glove compartment checked because they went, because in jury duty they state an opinion? So that may have helped me get kicked off that jury. I don't know.
Which is the dream of jury duty.
Yeah, that's the goal of jury duty.
Not do jury duty.
Jury selection is to be curious and have opinions and get kicked off the jury.
I had a guy next to me the last time I did it, and it was like, there's any reason you can't do this. And I had a gig, and when I didn't have many gigs, on the road, I think in Connecticut, and I was like, they're like, you can't do this for 2 weeks, and I was like, yeah, I absolutely can't. I thought it was like a 4-day thing, and they're like, no, it might be longer. I was like, well, then I absolutely can't do it. And they're like, we're gonna have to come back. And I'm like, I'll come back. I can't miss this. I mean, it'll hurt my career. And so this guy next to me.
So that worked?
Yeah, it did. Like, you got to reschedule. You're not out of it. It hasn't fulfilled. Like, I was panicking. I was like, I can't miss that gig. Anyway, this guy next to me says he has a medical problem. He's going to see a doctor, but when he sits down for too long, he gets very itchy, and it gets worse and worse and worse.
And is that true, or is that his subterfuge?
I'm pretty sure he was lying.
Okay.
But he said he's on his way to a doctor, like he's made an appointment. It's like he just hasn't done it yet, so he doesn't know exactly what it is. And then the judge, she saw through it. She goes, okay, so what happens? She goes, I got to stand up, and I can't. She goes, okay, well then, I'm gonna stand on my jury.
Huh.
You're good. And then they hit the guys, like, not only am I going to be doing more jury duty, I'm also going to have to stand during the entire thing. It's like, it's just a terrible excuse.
Well, what if your lie is that, like, I get turned on by court cases and
I get boners?
And I have to masturbate, if defense lawyers trigger me sexually. So then would the judge call you out,
Yeah.
So I guess you'll just have to jack off
Show me.
in
Do
my
it to completion. Harvey Weinstein this.
So I've getting away from hypothetical, getting out of jury situations.
Yeah. So here's the deal with drugs.
Okay.
Mushrooms, I think you would really like.
Okay.
And I also think everyone would really like.
And they're organic.
They're organic.
They come from the ground.
Yeah. There are no overdoses.
Gotcha.
Timothy Leary would say, like, if you're fighting against it at all, you just haven't taken enough.
Okay.
There is no too much.
Interesting.
Yeah. Same as kind of weed, although edibles, you get to the point where you could, like, throw up, I guess, as your overdose on weed edibles. But, like,
right.
It takes you away from your ego. So you get to see yourself.
Shrooms?
Yes.
Okay.
Ego free. Knowing everything you know about yourself, which is more than anyone knows about you.
Right.
You know how you'll see somebody in your life and you'll judge them. You're like, you're doing this because you're still upset about your ex-girlfriend. But you're doing that based on your observance of that person.
Okay.
And which is not all of them. You don't know about the relationship with their mother or anything like that. And you might be right. They are doing it because they're jealous about their ex-girlfriend moving on.
Right.
But it's more layered than that. So you know everything about yourself. And you get to take this, you like see yourself from the outside, really ego-free. And you get to see all your faults and your strengths.
Huh.
And you get to just like observe them.
And is this all the time, or is it just it affords you the opportunity if you are introspective on shrooms?
It forces you to be more introspective than you would. Not every time is that spiritual moment where you get to really look at yourself like that. And not even the whole trip will be that. Most of the trip will be dying laughing.
Okay.
We'll be having a great time.
Right.
Laughing about dumb shit. But like laughing so hard that you spit up. Just great times. Cathartic level laughing.
Right.
I mean, they treat depression now with psilocybin.
Well, actually, Tim Ferriss is... Actually, I might talk with him about this when I interview him, but he's been doing experiments with it.
What? Microdosing?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for... I'm not sure if he's done experiments with it, but basically for psychological reasons, using strategic use of psychedelics for one's mental state or emotional state. And I don't know anything. Actually, I had a similar... When we were walking to Versailles, we had a similar conversation, and then I had to admit that I'd never used any sorts of drugs, and so...
How do you react to that?
Well, actually, his reaction was just it's again that social compulsion that he feels bad. Like he doesn't want to be the drug pusher. Like he doesn't want to seem like the guy who's trying to talk me into psychedelics. And so there's this, but I wasn't saying it's never been that way. Like it's not like I'm 14 and Nancy Reagan is is my guiding light. It's just that I've just come to this life situation where I've just never done drugs, and then also I think I grew up in an era where there was a lot of drugs. Maybe in the 70s became a metaphor. I don't know. In junior high,
metaphor for what? For losers?
Well, just for freedom in the 70s, but then I was the first generation of people who had stoners for parents, and then there's just a ton of drugs in my junior high, like strangely hard drugs, and maybe I'm misremembering it, but it just seemed like there was a ton of drugs at a very young age, and it was sort of unromantic and sort of a desperation edge, and I sort of felt like, I don't know, there's a cliche to getting out of a place like Kansas. I have a lot of affection for Kansas, but I didn't want to be the guy who is raising their kid. And anyway, there may have been some superstition.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be stoner dad.
Right.
I don't know. I guess it's that superstition you have when you're a kid and you're not sure where you're going to end up, but you don't want to be like the people you're around. And not to disparage people I grew up with, because I'm friends with a lot of them, but there was a very specific, I wanted to be a writer from a very early age. And I felt like
being like them wouldn't let you get there.
Yeah, and I didn't want to compromise. I was just superstitious. I didn't want to do anything that would
Okay, I get that.
That would go against my cognition, right?
Yeah, that time is over. Do you have any history of schizophrenia in your family?
Don't think so.
Okay, then you're fine.
With what? With doing drugs?
Mushrooms or acid.
Oh, with doing mushrooms, yeah. Well, actually, no. And I've had this conversation a lot. And in fact, when I was writing and vagabonding and living in Thailand, there was a couple that lived in the jungle that would visit me sometimes at this residential hotel where I lived. Like I knew all the expats in town. It wasn't a very big town, and they were sort of evangelists for drug use. So I've had interesting arguments and conversations about this. But he sort of convinced me that
burritos.
Ooh, where?
Right here.
Okay, excellent. I'll take a right and a right.
Yeah.
He sort of convinced me of if it's organic, it's okay.
That seems fair.
And so if it's a plant, it's a plant, and that made sense to me.
I tried convincing my more religious friend, who's now a teacher in yeshiva in Israel.
Okay.
In a settlement in Israel. I mean, he is religious, and he's a rabbi.
Okay.
And I was like, you should do mushrooms. Like, you're out of your mind, Ari. I'm his last link to like that stuff.
To like the secular world, or
secular world. And he's like, you're out of your mind. There's no way. I'm like, why? He goes, because he's not cursing. He's like, I'm an Orthodox Jew. There's just no way. I'm a rabbi. There's just no way. And I was like, why? He goes, God doesn't want you doing that. I'm like, why would God make them if he doesn't want you doing them? This isn't processed in a bathtub. And he goes, I'm busy talking to God. I'm like, no, you'll talk to God if you do these. He left you a telephone.
Did he do them?
No.
Okay.
He said, he broke it down to like, I understand, I get what you're saying, and you might not be right. You might not be wrong. But if my students or the parents of the students found out, then I'd be run out of there.
Okay, yeah.
Which is like, okay, that's fair. That's fair. You don't have that problem. I'm not going to accept that from you as an excuse.
So is that, if I was to have a starter drug, or like if I was to do drugs
never smoked
once?
Pot?
No. Isn't that weird?
I know one guy, Fahim, where we tried to get him. I was always telling him, like, I want you to smoke pot after you do mushrooms. I want you to be the first guy.
Okay.
And so whenever he was smoking pot, I was like, Fahim, no, we had an agreement. You're gonna do what's it called first?
Are you too tight on that side?
Yeah, you're crooked a little bit.
All right, I'll straighten it out.
Yeah, you can be that guy. It'd be interesting from an experiment level.
Right.
Of having no real experience besides booze as a mind alterer.
Right.
Oh, I'm feeling crazy. They're just great.
All right.
And also,
burrito break. Are we gonna take?
We'll take a break, but hold on one second.
All right.
No, we're not gonna take this. I don't think.
That'd be weird.
You can't get addicted to them.
Right.
If you take them, your tolerance shoots way up. So for the next month, they just won't work.
Huh.
So the idea of like, well, I'm gonna want to do it all the time. It won't do anything.
Fair enough. I think that might have to be my starter drug.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
But
and I want you to tell me about it.
Our drug is burritos.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, miking back up after burritos.
Post burrito.
Post burrito. And we actually, did you intuit that we were in Pasadena, or did you see something that said Pasadena?
No, I realized we were back in.
Oh, right. You recognized some streets.
Yeah, the streets of Hill Avenue, and I was like, okay, we're back in wherever we're not supposed to be, but came from.
I mean, this is feeling even stonery just because we've been
We
talking
have
about
burritos.
this epic. Well, we had the burritos, but also we've been talking about this epic driving we've been doing, but I think we've never really left Pasadena. Like, we got into Pasadena like 50 miles ago, and we're still
Just drove
somehow
around it. We did all of Pasadena.
driving through every socioeconomic corner.
Those guys make a left.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll take us there.
So yeah, we scratched a burrito itch. Those were okay. How was?
Those are okay.
Yeah.
Chicharron burrito I've never had. But when I was in Costa Rica, it was like I kept looking at chicharrones on the side of the road.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what it was, and I saw it was like fried. I guess just like something non-kosher. So I was with my religious family,
Okay.
and I was like, I can't get this. But then I worked up the courage to be like, hey, can we stop for some chicharrones? I want to just try them. And they were all like truck stop food there. Just fried chicharron. Maybe chicharrones. I don't know how to say it, but and I never got it. So now that I took that desire with me back to America, so when I see them now, I'm like, chicharrones, please.
And we had the chicharrones.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best burrito.
So you don't keep kosher.
No, that's all done. That's all done.
Long ago.
Yeah, after I came back from Israel, I was
Okay.
like seminary for a couple of years, and then after high school, and then like my first year back, I was like started thinking about it.
So as an observant Jew, you still stole baseball cards.
Oh yeah.
And so do you have a relationship with your religious self? And I guess
Yeah, I'm struggling
Judaism-
with them right now.
Okay, so
Trying
explain.
to come to terms with it. My next hour of stand-up, I'm going to be doing about Judaism.
Okay.
So I'm trying to build it, the stories, like the Bible stories, the laws, and then the norms, social norms,
Right.
and just like talk about all that. I'm an advanced enough comedian now where I'm like, I can do this.
Right.
We're gonna west, right lane. Yeah.
Right lane?
Yeah.
Turn right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then get on the freeway.
Oh, okay. 210 west.
210 west.
All right.
And then start to move over once you get on the 210 west, where we're left. Yeah, but it was just like,
Oh, the entrance right here.
Mhm.
All right.
there's just shit inside me now because of that time.
Because of your religious time,
Yeah, I was a virgin for forever.
right?
You know,
what,
so
what was your hymen age?
23.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way past when I stopped being religious. But it was
Right.
still in me enough to where it's like, this seems somehow wrong.
And so is virginity a virtue in Jewish circles?
You're just not supposed to. I mean,
Okay.
you'll be a virgin when you get married. That's just what you'll do.
Because there are a lot of Christian clubs in my high school, and sometimes I felt like it was just sort of like a virginity protection service.
Yeah.
Although there was a lot of mixing, boys and girls mixing too. So maybe I
It
exaggerated.
turns out not to be that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
it's just hard. I mean, yeah, 23 is pretty long.
Yeah, it's pretty late.
Um,
And then I
but
start waiting for the right girl.
Sex is a little bit more instinctual than other vices. You know,
Mhm.
you get to an age and it's just
It takes over your body. You
even
wanna do it.
well-meaning religious people end up
Yeah.
having sex. So how long are we going to be on the 210?
A little
Or are
while.
we going to go to the 110?
We're gonna. Oh yeah, move
So
over
we're-
left.
Okay.
And then keep going over left. A few.
Alright.
Maybe one more after this.
Okay.
Oh, back to drugs though. Mushrooms are great, man. You should do them. That primer I wrote, that mushroom primer, was like me just having sort of discovered them, and then having
Right.
done like 5 or 10 times, and then be like, I know how. You're on the one, two, three, four.
One
go
more
over one.
lane?
Yeah, go over
Alright.
one. I know how many questions people have about it, so I want to just write everything I can before it becomes like normalized.
Could it be the safest option, or is weed just like
Weed safer.
weed is safer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And weed is like, I mean, actually when I first got high, I would stay high for like way too long where I'm like, get out of me. I was gonna say it's like quicker,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's also it's not like, weed you can just do all your own errands, you know, to make it more exciting once you build up your tolerance. You can't really do that with mushrooms.
Roll your own what?
You can just, while you're on errands or while you're like
Oh, okay, right.
just
right.
handling stuff,
Right.
you can like
Yeah,
smoke
no,
a J.
No, I feel like a lot of America works stoned. You know?
Oh yeah. Parents stoned.
Yeah. Food
Mushrooms are
service
different.
industry.
Yeah. But you're gonna love mushrooms, dude.
No, I like the idea of mushrooms, and actually I had some. Yeah, they seem strangely non-problematic. It makes me wonder why they're not more
What?
popular.
Yeah, well, they're not everywhere. They don't like grow everywhere.
True.
Pacific Northwest has them a lot more, but still, you would have them more in like pop culture and stuff, and like, or like now people grow them in their closet, so like you can do it, cultivate them. I guess they don't call them growing them.
Now, do they grow in poo?
They grow on poo. I'm mushroom picking. I went to some guys in Brisbane, and they're like, some fans. Is it going?
Yeah.
And I was like, they were like, let's go mushroom picking and take you some like pond where we can like jump into off like a couple stories up.
And this is in nature.
Yeah, but they were like, let's go to a cow patty and do it. It's the first time I've ever done them like that. They grow right off poo. You just kind of flick the shit off, or take the part of that stem, but it grows out of that.
And when did you do mushrooms for the first time?
Into comedy already.
So 20s?
I took like a cap once at like 28, let's say.
And what's a cap? This is my naive podcast guy question.
You know what a mushroom looks like?
So it's the cap of the mushroom.
Is the top.
Yeah.
But they're smaller than like the kind you get in like, they're dried. Let's say the kind you would get in a supermarket that you cook with, that you'd saute with.
Okay.
It's just dried up, shriveled up.
Gotcha.
So a cap of that. And some people have arguments about what has all the psilocybin in it. But from what I've read, it's like it drops out of the cap onto the stem, so really it's the same thing. But anyway, sometimes a cap and a stem is a good dose.
Okay.
And they'll be all broken up and apart because of the drying. Just a good light dose. It's just like, how much you do? I'm like, nah, just a cap and a stem. You know?
Gotcha.
So I had like a cap, and it didn't really hit me that much, but I started thinking a little bit, and then I did like a heavy dose, which is like half an eighth. Eighth of an ounce. So like 2 grams, about 2 grams. And that was like flying and crying and like discovering new things about you. Probably then I was like 29, 30.
So question, do you need to like take the day off if you're going to do shrooms?
Yeah.
So you can't just do it in the evening or multitask. It's like, okay, this is a shroom day.
Yeah, the shrooms is the new thing. The most multitasking you can do is while you're at a music festival.
Gotcha.
You can like be on that, but then like you might miss your band.
Really?
Yeah.
Literally miss your band.
I mean, like I went with my friends at Bonnaroo, and like I decided like I'm getting shrooms for all the comedians.
Okay.
And I got like 2 ounces.
I'm getting shrooms for all the comedians.
Yeah. And then I got a bunch, and not just the crew of people that I was friends with, but like anybody who wanted some. And then people like Nick Thune, all the people come up to me like, hey, do you have shrooms? I'm like, yes, I do. Here you go. Enjoy your time.
Shroom dispenser.
Yeah, shroom dispenser. It was great, man. People had like amazing experiences. Where it's like, Michelle Wolf later was like, I realized I can do anything. I'm living my life right. I'm a writer for some fucking show, like Seth Meyers at the time. And then she's like, everything's going fine. I don't have to shit on myself anymore.
Huh.
Like I'm doing it.
So there's like an acceptance
sometimes
aspect to it?
Yeah. Or like, oh, I'm doing this wrong. I should just change it. I don't have to continue this. I can just change this behavior.
So there is some self-realization going on?
Yeah.
Huh. And tell me about Shroomfest. What does that look like? Is there? Do you go into the desert?
You go wherever you want to go.
Okay.
It's international. It's kind of like Christmas or St. Paddy's Day.
Okay.
There's no like place for it. But if you believe in like the interconnectivity of, some people do believe this, of like the universe, like all our souls are linked up. When you're on mushrooms, you get to like tap into all that.
Right.
Then great. Then a lot of people are going to be doing it for the same reason at the same time. So maybe someone in Iceland will be doing it at the same time as you for the same reason.
Okay.
I don't believe in that.
Right.
But if you fucking fine. It's just an excuse to do it. So we picked the weekend in the summertime with the most amount of moonlight.
Moonlight.
So you can walk around all day, because we like going to Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
And like during a full moon, just like you can get shadows on you, and just walk when no one's around, and just walk into everything, and it's cool enough.
That's actually kind of awesome. Without shrooms, I've done some night hiking there.
Really?
It was years ago. It was on my first vagabonding trip in January. It was cold, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, depends when. It can be like 70, but it can be like 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeous out there. All the buttes and everything.
Yeah,
climb rocks. You're like, let me climb this.
Yeah.
When was that? When'd you go?
I went in '94, and then I went again this spring when I took my baseball trip to Los Angeles. A friend and I went out and hiked around in Joshua Tree.
Yeah, and it's too hot during the day. Sometimes there.
Yeah.
The sun is like relentless.
We did some day hiking, but whatever. It was a mild day, but I can see how it would get hot.
Yeah. Yeah, we just take shrooms out there, start a campfire, eat a little bit, then head off. Read that primer.
I've read some of it, yeah.
And then try not to be scared. Your instinct is going to be like, let me take a little less the first time, but like, don't do that. Go for it.
And would it be something in my hypothetical shroom initiation?
Yeah, I better not be hypothetical, but go ahead.
Do I friends, a certain type of friends?
People you're comfortable with.
Okay.
No woman that you're maybe going to hook up with in the future.
Okay.
Where you're still like worried about what you look like.
Okay.
People that you're like still trying to impress. That's like, you don't want to be self-conscious at all.
And so that self-consciousness can seep into the
Yeah, and start worrying about how do I look like. Yeah, you just want to be free. Don't tell anybody you're doing them. If you come in contact with people, if you walk out into the world,
so
people
I
just
shouldn't
gonna think
live
you're weird.
broadcast
No, you should not
my
do
shroom
that.
experience.
You're gonna want to walk around because you want to like be out of your skin, and so the result is, for me anyway, that you just like move away from your skin, but your skin stays with you.
So I live in a rural area, so could I just like invite some friends there, or do you suggest like having a destination shroom?
No, if you got a big backyard and you're comfortable with surroundings, even better. If you got like an acre or two in your backyard and neighbors that won't get
I've got
mad
30
if you yell.
acres.
Damn.
I live in rural Kansas. Well,
can you get a little loud at night
traveling.
or daytime?
Totally, yeah.
Oh yeah, then that's great, because then you got indoor and outdoor. So you have different settings you can do.
Yeah.
And you can walk away and still be on property. That's why music festivals are so great. They're surrounded. They're like adult drug playgrounds.
I love that.
Yeah.
Has anybody else characterized them as such? Certainly.
I don't think so. Maybe though, but that's what they are. Everybody's on them.
What they are.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's safe. And then there's medics everywhere.
Right.
And nobody thinks you're weird. You don't have a job to like you're missing out on. But yeah, you got to block off that day, and not the next day, but you might have some thoughts you want to like hang around with the next day.
So should I do that? When should I do this? Like for my 50th birthday, or
when is that?
In 3 years.
No, man.
So you want me to like inside of a year? You think I should do shrooms?
Yes.
Okay.
If you haven't done it by next Shroomfest, you should have that as your time.
When's Shroomfest?
I got to look for what next year is. This year
it's in the summer.
Yeah.
I'm often in Paris in the summer.
Great.
So,
I mean, I don't know. There's no bad place, really.
Right. Actually, I can't do that because I'm working. I'm teaching. I don't know if my students want me to.
Well, then you better fucking do it before the summer then.
Right.
So it won't be a problem.
Well,
yeah, your place in Kansas sounds perfect on a warm day.
Yeah.
In May.
This is weird. I'm like publicly thinking out loud about drug initiation. But you know, there's a time and a purpose for everything.
Luckily, you're not a rabbi.
And that's the Old Testament. There's a time and a purpose for everything under heaven. Mm-hmm. They don't specify shrooms.
They don't.
But there's a time to.
Yeah, Jews don't believe even drunkenness is a problem. They just like say you should control it.
Gotcha.
Like not too often.
Right.
Gambling too. Like you can gamble, but just not every day.
It seems quite reasonable.
Yeah, they really are. They also view the same for homosexuality, which is like the weirdest of all the religions I've seen deal with it. Where it's like, I mean, don't, but your desire is just like your desire for wine. Fight it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, like Buddhists have no issue with it, right?
Yeah, Buddhism doesn't have God though.
So you're thinking about the monotheist.
Yeah.
Monotheistic.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, so at some point in the next year...
You got to do them. Find a friend. Find 10 friends if you want.
Right.
Even better.
And so, like, if I'm... Is it going to be hard? It's going to be hard to find shrooms in Kansas,
better start
though.
looking. So you got to start looking.
Craigslist, right?
No. I put that on there. You got to find your dirtiest friend.
Okay.
Ask them. If they tell you...
No, I've Kansas. Kansas can be druggy depending on who you hang out with, so I'm sure I can find somebody.
And if they're like, I don't have mushrooms, like, do you know where I can get some is your next question.
But I feel like West Coast, or the Pacific Northwest would be the best place, like the healthiest mushrooms.
Maybe. People grow them in their closet. My friend grew the best that I've ever had, these penis envy mushrooms. They look like dicks.
Okay.
And they're called penis envy, and they're like half ecstasy, half mushrooms. They just like make you love your friends.
Wow. But yet they're organic mushrooms.
Yeah.
Huh.
And those are closet porn. Yeah, back in the day when people didn't know how to like change that, but like weed now is all grown indoors. The good stuff.
Yeah. No, I have friends who do that.
Yeah, and the outdoor stuff is like, man, it's okay.
I have friends who couldn't give a shit about learning anything in school.
And now they're horticulturalists.
And now they're like scientifically literate, and they have this technician grade knowledge of indoor growing. It's a marvel to behold.
It's cool.
Should I stay in this lane or get further over?
We can stay here. It doesn't matter. 134. We gotta go to the 101. I'm trying to remember where to get off on this.
I don't know why Shrooms. I'm below a quart of a tank, so when I drop you off, I'll fill up.
Yeah. You should know that you'll be scared before you take them.
Okay,
you'll lose some self-control.
Like, when I do them, I'll lose some self-control?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an inebriant.
So it's, okay, all right.
And that's why a lot of people say they don't
Will I
want to
be a
take them.
dumbass?
No.
Okay.
No. You're all there. You don't lose your surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
You don't be like, I'm on the moon. And it's not like that. Heavy acid, maybe.
Is there memory loss or?
Well, I try to like have one of those Moleskine notebooks in my pocket.
Okay.
To write down, usually illegibly, these thoughts I have, so I can get back to them later.
And are they worth getting back to?
Yeah, you'll see universal truth.
No shit.
You'll see it clearly for the first time. Some of them absolutely not worth getting back to, but some of them yes. And you it's like a dream. You come out of it like knowing it, and then like hours later you're like, I sort of have that. A day later you like have a glimpse of it, and then a week later you're like, I don't remember what I thought. And then the more you do it, the more you can bring back with you.
Can it ever be a negative thing? Can you have a bad trip, so to speak?
Yeah, bad trips are not as bad as a bad cross-country flight.
Okay.
If you're stuck in the middle seat next to a baby who's crying.
So it's knee pain.
It's what?
No, I'm just made a bad joke. Knee pain. Is
yeah.
my red bag back there?
Yep.
Okay.
You want it?
No, it's almost like traveler's paranoia. You know how you're traveling overseas? You just want to make sure you know where your belongings are.
Yeah.
And so suddenly I realized I couldn't see my red bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, I don't know why that would seize me on this freeway in Los Angeles. But anyway, you were saying. The bad trips.
The bad trips is just like, it'll be bad moments. It'll be an hour of like, so my friend Fahim started thinking about his parents and how they're going to die. And they started thinking about death in general. Mm-hmm. And he started to like swirl down. So there were negative thoughts, but not bad, just dark. And then an hour later, we were dying laughing over some painting in my friend's grandmother's place. like dying laughing.
Is it, do you stand out? I mean, do people stand on the street and think, what's wrong with these people?
You'll be weird.
Okay.
But they're just going to think that guy's weird. No one will know that you're on drugs. That's why I wouldn't tell them, because they'll treat you differently. And you don't want anyone observing you.
Do you remember your dreams? Do you like to make a point of remembering your dreams?
Sometimes I do. I've been off weed for this month, and I have vivid dreams now.
Because I
Do you?
Well, every time I've tried to do them, I would rather, like, I have disturbing dreams, and I don't like that. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm sort of in the habit of forgetting my dreams. And so I'm just wondering if that mental state, if I'll have some negative fixation, if that's possible.
What do you mean?
On shrooms, that my brain, something negative will come up, and then I'll be stuck there.
Okay. There's things you can do.
Okay.
When the thoughts are getting too much, or too overwhelming, this is going to sound hippy-dippy, but it works. I don't know why.
Okay.
You just quietly to yourself, but out loud, just go, hey, mushrooms, pull it back a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the act of saying it makes your brain say that. I don't think you're talking to the mushrooms, but whatever reason, they listen to you.
You're anthropomorphizing the mushroom.
Yeah. I don't know why it works, but it does. I didn't think of that. Someone else did.
Right.
I don't know who. But just let them know it's too much, and they're like, okay. They'll just respond. They'll just, like, within a few minutes, you'll be back to normal.
Let's turn this frown upside down, mushrooms.
Yeah, exactly. And then just, like, I don't know, a minute later you're thinking about your friend and you're just cracking up. Or thinking about good things.
Cool.
Yeah, do it with, like, 10 buddies in Kansas City. And also know that nothing bad ever happens to anyone on mushrooms.
So
so the fears are, like, irrelevant and ridiculous.
There's no hospital ward full of mushroom victims.
My friend got arrested, though, once. He went to, he was, like, chasing our other friend around his apartment naked.
Okay.
Just as, like, a joke.
Okay.
But the one friend who got chased was like, I'm out of here. This is gross. I'll go on the one-on-one.
So exit.
Left. Stay on the
left.
Yeah.
So don't exit.
No, don't exit.
All right.
And then he left. Oh, yeah, we're good on this thing. So he left, but then like 45 minutes later, he hadn't realized the time had passed that much. Oh, yeah, I guess do get over one. I don't know. And then he was like, no, I'm going to catch Benji. So he went outside to catch him naked at like 2 p.m. in West Hollywood. He got arrested instantly. I mean, instantly. And
so he got arrested for walking naked on shrooms.
Yeah.
But not really the shroom aspect, it was the naked aspect.
Yeah. And then that wasn't great because then he's all like confined in a really, I don't want to be confined
He
state.
wasted his shroom experience on jail.
Yeah, and you want, like I said, you want to get out of your skin and move, and like when you're locked up. But my friends use that as an example of something bad happening to somebody. But I'm like, he got off. It was like commuted sentence. Like in the end, nothing happened to him. He was fine.
Yeah, no, that's benign as far as weird drug experiences.
Good experience. You could write about it. Yeah, now I'm excited for you. You're gonna have to tell me when you do it.
Well, I do want to write about it.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I want to get multiple. Maybe this is the wrong way of looking at it. Maybe this is some horrible utilitarian American way of looking at it. But I want to almost have, to test my variables, to write about it, to even write about it beforehand. I don't know.
Sure.
I like the idea. It's almost like an adventure. It's like going to a new country in a certain sense.
Yeah.
In that it's just a new.
Yeah, it'll be a new way of thinking about things.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep a journal for the day after. Just write down all your thoughts, and then if you do it another time, then keep a separate journal.
Are people immune to shrooms? I mean, could I take them and it's just like
I've heard of that. I saw someone who was immune to weed once, but I generally don't believe that. I'm like, you're not smoking right.
Right.
And then my friend's girlfriend, she said that. I was like, there's just no way. She's like, I'll do it with you if you want. It just doesn't do anything to me. And I was like, yeah, I do want. And I saw her breathe in a heavy amount and like suck it down her lungs. Like empty mouth, then breathe out, like enough times to bury me when I was at my heaviest.
Right.
And she was like, I don't know, maybe like a little tingling in my jaw. I was like, oh man, no, yeah, you're immune.
Interesting. How often do you smoke weed?
I used to do it too much. Before I left for Asia, I cut down because I was like getting cloudy.
What, like wake and bake or just?
No, not quite that, but like 5 times a day.
Oh, Jesus, yeah, that seems like a lot.
Just like all through. And it wasn't having the effects it was before, where it's like making food taste extra delicious, giving the giggles. I was just getting back to even.
Yeah.
So I cut back to just when my friends are smoking, I'll smoke with them, and then it got back to having that effect.
That's cool.
Yeah, thinking like creatively. Take Laurel Canyon Boulevard down.
Laurel Canyon. All right.
Yeah.
And how often do you do shrooms? Obviously once a year.
Yeah, and then more, probably 4 times a year. It's a summer drug.
Okay.
Because of the walking around.
Right. So if it's cold, then that limits your.
Yeah, you got to really be indoors or something.
Does the cold itself impair your experience of the drug?
I don't think so. Took a little bit in Indonesia. I'm excited for you for going.
Yeah, no, that's. Looking forward to it.
Just a little bit, but it was not cold at all there. But it was the winter time. No, it's just like. No, it's just you want to be walking around.
What other intoxicants do you use in the course of a given year? Because obviously Coke, for whatever Jewish reasons, you've decided that.
Yeah, I've done it. I did it 3 times at Edinburgh a year ago, just because all my friends were cokeheads. So it's like, fine, I'll do it tonight. But I'll do MDMA once in a while. Like I left. That goes really well with mushrooms. Because if the only bad thing is those bad thoughts spiraling down.
You said go left?
Yeah. Okay. And the MDMA makes sure those thoughts are up.
Okay.
So then you still have the fun positive. It just ensures. It's like a condom for your thoughts, keeping you like, keeping them positive. So then you can't have the like, wow, oh my, this friend's such a good friend. Oh, look at those pretty colors. Staring at things makes you like see visuals better. Like being sort of like this, maybe you don't get as much, but if you're like on that brick stuff and staring at the bricks, then it'll start to like wave a little bit. I don't know. You'll see it, man. It's so good.
Yeah, no, this will be interesting.
Whoa, cool. That cool stuff is like not going to affect your like mind later. It's not going to make you a better person.
But I shouldn't shroomcast it.
No, I advise against. As someone who like strongly advises people to do mushrooms, I advise against
don't mix
recording it.
MDMA maybe, but not.
Yeah, you don't want to be like observed.
Okay.
You want to be free of all that.
Yeah.
That's why it's like when people like, when I'm doing them, like I'm not going to do them, but I'll do them with you. I'm like, well, then you're not invited anymore. I don't want you looking at me. It's like, are you freaking out right now?
Right.
And staring at like, what's the effect like? It's like, get out of here. Let me have the experience.
Do you know where you are, by the way?
Yeah. Okay. We're going to go up and over Laurel Canyon. This is the pass. And then,
I like.
there.
Actually, the nice thing about this drive is that I've just randomly seen a lot of really interesting places.
Yeah.
I don't even really know where they are. I guess most of it was Pasadena. But
yeah.
What a pleasant...
And that park, too, Encino, Balboa Park. Griffith Park.
Yeah.
That train area. I didn't see that before.
Right, that was right where I picked you up.
Yeah, nearby.
Burbank.
I didn't know it was that close to Griffith Park.
Yeah, well, I guess Griffith Park is pretty big. And
yeah.
Is that the whole hill? Is the whole hill Griffith Park?
No, but a lot of it's connected. You can see that on the map, the green parts.
Yeah.
It's pretty sizable. Yeah, I'm excited for you for doing mushrooms now.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't go into the interview. I just had on my yellow note card, which I haven't used at all. Should I do drugs?
You should.
And now I feel like I've been talked into doing shrooms.
Yeah, you've accomplished the things you set out to do in your life.
That's
true. Fair to say I don't want this to hold me back. So it hasn't.
Right.
You've got a career. You still have your job in Paris. You're still already writing your next book.
Yeah.
You're on your way. You know?
Right, and I'm 47, so...
Yeah, I mean, you are not going to get to 50 without doing mushrooms. Don't be ridiculous.
Traveled the world, so... I'm going to have to wrap my head around... Because literally, when you got in the car in Burbank, that was one of, 16 questions on my note card.
Yeah, you just randomly picked out of those.
Right.
Like, what else?
And it could be that I read about your Shroomfest, and so it's fairly high on my card.
Yeah.
But what else do I have? Well, baseball, we've sort of covered that.
Yeah.
Hugging. Like I'm always confused about hugging protocols. Like
whether you're allowed.
Like, do you hug people? Like, when do you hug someone?
I don't know. If it's an old friend that I haven't seen, then I do it.
Right.
For a while, I wasn't hugging women because I felt like it was sexism.
Well, see, that's it. I think part of the problem, and this predates me knowing the term, but like the consent thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And so, who wants to be hugged and who doesn't want to be hugged? In New York, you kiss hello. In other countries, you do this, you do that. But I have this core Midwestern self that just says, that is very conservative about when you do and don't hug. And so I
wouldn't even say that. It's the other way with sexism, where it's like if a woman's rubbing her boobs up against me to say hello,
okay,
I'm going to treat her differently.
Huh.
If her consent is, I want to hug, then mine is like, no, let's handshake. I handshake other men. Why are we making this and I know it's not that as sexual as that, but it's slightly sexual. So if I'm going to treat you like an equal, let's be equals.
So you're trying to preempt titillation? Or
yeah.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, where it's like, let's not even see you that way. Let's not even go skin to skin. Let's just handshake. It works for dudes.
Huh.
And then if it's an old friend, of course I'll hug.
Right.
You know?
Right.
My dad I'll hug.
I don't usually hug my dad.
Really?
I'm super tight with my dad, but I just don't think he came from hugging stock. Yeah. I think my whole family didn't come from hugging stock. But then I have also, I guess, I'm often self-conscious about when it is and is not appropriate.
Yeah.
And then am I being standoffish by not being more warm with my greeting?
Yeah.
Or am I being just icky and up in somebody's space by initiating a hug when it's not appropriate?
Women thought I was being standoffish, and I was like, I'm trying to treat you like an equal.
Yeah.
We had this comic, Angelo Bowers. He died in a car accident, but he, as an open micer, was just like, I hug everybody. And it was just like nice, and it sort of changed how comedians greeted each other in LA. It like just bled up, it trickled up.
Huh.
Yeah, and people were just like, how you been, man? Just like everybody hugged all the time. It was kind of like pleasant. Why did we just let go of that? I don't know.
Well, I wonder what the cultural grounding of all this is, because
homophobia.
I heard years ago that you offer your right hand to show you're not holding a weapon. I don't even know if that's true.
Oh, yeah.
Or you bow to offer your neck in East Asian cultures to the sword. You're basically saying, I come in peace. And then I can see the homophobic thing.
Why you wouldn't hug, yeah.
But then also, like, back in the day when I drifted from sort of staid Lutheran circles to more evangelical circles, that was a really huggy bunch.
Really?
You know? Yeah, and I could be wrong if there's any
nice
evangelical
Christians are
people
like
listening, but it just feels like there wasn't. It wasn't. Evangelicals can be homophobic, but they certainly didn't have anything against dudes hugging.
Right, where it's just like they're so pleasant and nice. Real Christians are so nice.
Right. Yes.
You know. Not
and
the judgy ones.
and actually, it's true. That's true. That they're really nice circles. It can get weird.
Yeah.
And of course, invariably, people become hypocrites under certain circumstances. You know, I think we're all hypocrites to our convictions to some extent. And I spent a lot of time in evangelical circles, and I think there's too much singing in church in those. Anyway, that's another conversation. But that's just something I observed, that it was much huggier, and that there wasn't homophobic things attached to hugging.
You got to move over one lane, by the way.
All right.
But whenever you have a little time.
All right.
Yeah, maybe that. But with dudes, friends who aren't evangelical, it's like it's an underlying like, don't touch me, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a side. That's something I wonder about sometimes, and so part of my pretext for doing this is just have conversations and think out loud about things. Are we almost back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you wind down your episodes? Like, is there some sort of a throat clearing transition?
Nah, I just be like, yeah, I think that's about it. All right, well, thanks for coming in, man. I don't know. It's just like, I guess we're finished. That's a comedian. Yeah, some podcasts do like, we always say the national anthem at the end. If you'll join it with us, something like that. It's like, come on.
Well, or a set of questions. Like I've on a couple of recent ones. It's like, well, what have you? I've sort of had a variation of what have you learned from your experience of X, and they just don't know. Or they.
It's tough when you have the thing you have to cover every time.
Right. So they're supposed to boil things down, and it's just hard. So
yeah, and you make someone stick to something specific that's supposed to be grand. What are the 3 things in life you can't live without? Like, can you give me a month to think about this?
Right. I've thought that would be interesting if you could prepare.
If you could prepare, yeah.
But then there's the question of, do we go? Oh,
it's closed off. We'll go to the next street. Oh, can you make this? Yeah, make it.
Okay. This guy's doing it, so we'll try it too.
That example. Yeah, I don't know. If you would say like, what's the funnest place you've been, or I don't even like the words funnest, like ultimate words like that, favorite, best.
Yeah.
It's too hard to answer, and it limits to everything else. It's
superlatives, right?
Yeah, superlatives. Yeah. If it was something like that, I'd be like, tell me one fun place you're thinking about right now, or the fun place you've been that's on your mind.
Right.
Maybe not the best, but just give me one.
For me or for?
Yeah, for you, or if it was going to be something like that. I don't know how much you're going to be sending around travel.
That reminds me, Ari, what's one fun place you're thinking about?
Stupid.
Which way do I go?
Left.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I really love East Timor. I'm thinking of maybe going back there after Australia.
That's awesome. It's such an obscure place to go, too.
Yeah.
Is this your block?
This is my block.
All right. Just give me some advance notice.
It's right here. Behind this car. Yeah, I really love East Timor. And me.
I love those sorts of places where nobody else goes.
Didn't expect to be there at all.
Or there's a certain class of traveler who ends up there.
Yeah. It's not set for us, so it's like, figure it out. There's no maps here even.
Well, thanks for joining us,
Thanks, Rolf.
Mr. Ari.
It's nice seeing you again,
Until next time, till I've shroomed up.
Dude, you're gonna for sure tell me about that. For sure you have to.
Definitely. This has been the Deviate with Rolf Potts podcast. More about everything that was just mentioned in the show notes at rolfpotts.com/deviate. And as always, you can contact me with insights or questions at deviate@rolfpotts.com. This episode was produced by Justin Glow with research support from Jan Futterman. Music is, as always, by my nephew Cedar Van Tassel. Thanks for listening, and I hope you tune in for future episodes of Deviate with Rolf Potts.